Hello, Happiness Abounder, and welcome back. We're kicking off another week, and today I want to go back to our focus of leadership. If you'll recall, every episode of the new podcast format fits within a formula for happiness and goal achievement, which is your identity plus vision plus your mindset plus leadership equals happiness and or your goals. So today I want to focus on leadership, and I want to start by asking you to think about what or who is the best boss you've ever had and who is the worst boss you've ever had, or leader, or whatever, but like the best and the worst. Now, if you've thought of those people, I want you to take a minute and think of the qualities that made them the best or the worst. What traits did they have? So let's take a minute, because I want you to focus on the worst for a second. What is the traits that made them the worst? I can tell you on my side, the worst leader or the worst boss I've ever had, or the worst coach, or wherever you want to pull from, for me, that individual did not communicate in my language. They would say one thing and do the complete opposite. And to me, that did not work. It did not convey a sense of trust. It did not convey leadership to me. So I really struggled. Like, that's one of the things that made them the worst, is they said they would do one thing and they did something completely different. Now I'm going to lean in on that for just a second here. Have you thought of like what trait made someone the worst boss in your life? Now just identify one of those. Okay, here's the brain twist. As we talk about leadership to get our goals and for our own personal happiness, I want you to take a look at your life and how you are leading it. Now, again, if my worst boss is someone who says one thing and does the opposite, or doesn't do what they said they have done, if I look at my own life, how many times have I said, I'm going to work out, or I'm going to write that book, or I'm going to do XYZ, clean the kitchen, whatever it may be, and then I don't do it? Yeah. Take a minute for that to sink in. What trait, now, and you may not be like me, maybe the worst trait that boss had, you don't have in your life. That's awesome. But I want you to go to the second or the third and find the one that you're like, oh, I do that. How are you leading yourself? I'm going to ask that again. How are you leading yourself? When you look at the best boss you've ever had, what did they have? What trait, what qualities, what message did they convey that made them the best boss you've ever had? Do you have that in your own leadership style of your life? Now, I know that this is kind of a like, whoa, where are we going at? What are we doing here? Where are we going with this? But that's it. When you take a look at what you define as a good leader, I want you to take a look at if you are embracing that, embodying that in how you lead yourself. I know for me personally, when I say I'm going to do something, I absolutely go hard at it and do my best to do it. Because I want to lead my own life. I want to lead myself in the way that I want to be led by other people. I want to be an example of what good leadership means for me, to me. If I can do that, I can succeed. Which is why leadership is the last part of this formula. You can know who you are. You can have the vision of where you want to go and what those goals may be. You can be working through the mindsets, but if you don't actively lead yourself to take action and to be that person, to go after those goals, to shift your mindset, if you don't lead yourself down that path, you won't get there. And that's the other component of this. Set the example. Put it out there in the universe, the kind of boss, if you have to have one, that you want by being that person. And what's so crazy is I know that a huge amount of you that are listening are entrepreneurs or are people who are thinking of being entrepreneurs or have a side hustle business or are looking to grow in your corporate careers. If you fall into any of those categories, or you've even thought about any of those categories, self-leadership is of the utmost importance. Whether it's self-leadership for your own business and you're setting a tone and a culture, even if you are just one employee, even if it's just you, you're a solopreneur, you are setting the tone for your culture based on how you lead yourself. Now, if you're in the corporate world and you're looking to get better, climb higher, whatever that may look like for you, you want to have good leaders on your side. And you want to know how you get good leaders? You put it out into the universe that you are a good leader and what you want out of it. And you will climb that corporate ladder pretty dang fast. But it all starts with you. So again, I'm going to ask, now you have a little bit more context. What trait does the worst boss you've ever had have? And how can you make sure you don't have that trait when you lead yourself? And I go back to saying you'll do one thing and then not doing it. That doesn't mean I go and tell somebody I'm going to go work out today. Even if I tell myself, because I'm leading just me, if I tell myself I'm going to go work out today and then I don't, I'm not being a good leader of my own life. I'm not sticking to and committing to what I've said I would do. Another trait that sticks with me is I have a hard time with what I call idea men. And not just men, but idea people, right? People who have all the ideas and have no execution. For me, I struggle with that. Like, you can have the vision, and I'm so happy you have the vision, but somebody's got to get in the weeds and do the work, which is why the formula works how it does. You need to know who you are, where you want to go, have that vision, do the mindset and the leadership. And the leadership and the mindset are the work pieces. Granted, you have to work across all of them. That's not what I mean. But what I do mean is that you can have the idea, but you have to have action behind it. So I personally struggle with leaders who have all the ideas and then take no action. So what do you think I do with my own life? I do my best to be strategic and have all of these ideas, but then I take action on them. And part of leadership is knowing how to communicate to your team in a way that helps them take action and not feel overwhelmed or anxious. And you got to figure out what that looks like for you too. If you have a big goal but it feels overwhelming, it can feel like a lot to take a small step of action because there's so much more to do. So how can you frame that, adjust your mindset, that you can take that small action every single day, step upon step, to build that momentum to eventually get there? How can you lead yourself to get there? So again, asking, what are the traits of the worst boss you've ever had? And do you have those traits in how you lead your own life? Now, maybe you don't. Maybe you had a boss that had some stuff that was crazy and you're like, nope, I don't have any of that in my life. Great. We're going to flip the script a little bit, flip the question and say, who is the best boss you've ever had? What traits did they have and embody? What characteristics did they live? And do you have those in your life? Do you lead yourself in the way that you want to be led? Side note of that, do you lead your family? Do you lead your community? Do you lead your groups? Do you lead your business in the way that you want to be led? Crazy to think about, but leadership is so holistic. And whether you're in a position to lead a team or you're in a position to lead yourself, both are equally important. For you to step into leading yourself the way you want to be led, and the rest ripple effects out. So I'm going to leave you with that today, a little bit of a shorter episode, but hopefully a lot to think about and a lot to consider. So with that said, have a wonderful day. And remember, you are capable of happiness abound.